Alright, welcome everyone to our final episode of our Pokemon Emerald playthrough. So in episode 18 we are going to be heading to the Battle Frontier, which is the post-game content for Pokemon Emerald once you've beaten the Elite Four. So I've never experienced the Battle Frontier either in Gen 3 or in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They do have a similar version of this in Sword and Shield where it's divided up into, it's more split up in terms of the different things you can go and do. So you can have a battle against your old rivals and some of the gym leaders whenever you want in sort of there's a double battle and a single battle version. The double battle came out in the DLC content, and then you've also got a battle tower in Winden, I think the town's called, in where the Elite Four is, or the championship. So I do have a little bit of knowledge of what it can be like, but I've never experienced this one since I've never played Emerald until doing this playthrough. From my experience, it seems pretty fun. It does make me a little bit disappointed though that I didn't play Emerald back in the day, because I feel like I would have invested a lot of time into it back then in terms of just trying everything out and unlocking what there is to unlock. I didn't spend too much time after doing the recordings on it. This time, it might be something if there's like a proper release on a Nintendo Switch where I can go back and play it, either doing a playthrough again or just my own playthrough where I can just mess around with this sort of stuff, and then it's got some adaptability to the current generation, things like that. Might explore doing something like that. But yeah, I wanted to take this opportunity as well just to talk about my overall feelings towards Generation 3 now that this is our final episode. I'll probably put together a summary of the entire playthrough just as might be a 30 or 40 minute video where I just talk about looking back on the major battles that I did in terms of the gym battles, rival battles, and battles against Team Magma and Team Aqua, along with the Elite Four and the Champion. And my overall feelings were like I could have tackled it better, I think, but I'll go more into detail when I do like a look back on all of it. But yeah, just in terms of the information that I chose not to look at because I wanted to go into a lot of things blind, probably handicapped me a bit more. And then I really shouldn't have given myself Rayquaza as a bit of a crutch to get through the Elite Four, even though like I didn't do anything wrong in terms of going and getting the box legendary for the game. It really shouldn't be available to you before you go and tackle the Elite Four. It really should be like how it works with Mewtwo in Generation 1, where you can only go and catch it after that. And that's probably one of my major disappointments of it, because I know in other games, I think in Gold and Silver, you can catch Ho-Oh and Lugia before you go and tackle the Elite Four and before you go back into Kanto, which I guess they make that sort of thing available to you just in case you need it. But yeah, I do want to get to the point where I'm not having to rely on things like that. I do want to get better at the game, and I do want to start like building a competitive team once we start talking Pokemon Sword and Shield and beyond, in terms of whether it's a Gen 4 remake that they're bringing out this year or something completely different. Something that who knows what they're bringing out. We'll hopefully find out in the next couple of months. But yeah, it's something that I do want to work towards, and I've been thinking about my introduction to Pokemon Sword and Shield because I feel like it might get more views than Emerald since it's a newer game, but in terms of like explaining to people the way that I view myself when it comes to Pokemon games, in terms of how I sort of work through these games, I know that Sword and Shield are a bit more hand-holdy, where the game will actually tell you what's super effective and what's not against the different Pokemon that you come up against. And you've also got the group-wide EXP share. But yeah, it's seeing myself do some of the silly things that I've done in this playthrough just really made me laugh. But yeah, so in terms of the Battle Frontier, I think it's really cool in terms of the way that they've set it up. And it's disappointing that they didn't look to include this sort of thing more in later games, but yeah, it is what it is. So in terms of my overall feeling towards Gen 3, there's always something that I think of every time Christmas comes around, where I remember when Fire Red and Leaf Green were first being released. I was so excited about being able to go back and play through Kanto. I know it's a strange reaction to have where there's a lot of people who are against it, being that in the first 3 generations of the game you were able to go back and replay or revisit, in Gold and Silver and Crystal's case, the original area where we all started out if you started off with Gen 1. I wouldn't really call myself a Gen 1er because I do like different aspects of all the games. I don't really look back on Kanto and think, yeah, that was the be-all and end-all. Like, it was certainly a good starting place, and they have worked on it from time to time when they've revisited it, because they've certainly revisited it a lot in the last couple of generations. But yeah, I do remember being very, very excited about Fire Red coming out, and then I did get Leaf Green as well, and I have actually gone and bought, because I couldn't find them in terms of what I did with my old Game Boy Advance cartridges, but I did buy some on Facebook Marketplace. I'm fairly sure they're reproduction copies, but I've got them more for just the nostalgia factor of having like a physical copy of it. I haven't played through either of them. I just got them more, just to either have like a display piece so I can look at it, and it's just like a physical drawback to those days. So yeah, I do tie Sapphire and Ruby into it as well, because they're part of Generation 3 as well, and they're the games that I remember most clearly in terms of, I started with Gen 1 and then I remember going into Gen 2. The only thing I remember of Gen 2 is sitting in the back of a car with my brother, both of us playing on our Pokemon edition Game Boy Colors, the yellow ones with all the Pokemon around the screen and all that. I'd love to be able to find mine. I know it's packed in a box somewhere at my parents' place, but yeah, that's the only real memory that I have of Gold and Silver. In terms of that, I don't really remember anything specific in terms of, like, I couldn't really say who my first starter was or anything like that. But I do remember with Ruby, I do believe I went with Swampert. So I do like the water type in this. Blaziken's pretty cool, and yeah, so is Grovyle and that line. So it's a generation that I feel quite close to, and in terms of Emerald, I really do wish I played through it as a kid, but unfortunately I didn't. So getting able to play through it eventually, it's nice to have done it, and I do feel quite a close tie to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as well in that sense, because it is revisiting and remaking this generation, because I think it was around the time when that was coming out when I really started focusing on the games again. So I remember like 10 years ago I was looking at the games like Black and White and Black and White 2 and wanting to get involved in it, and then X and Y and Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and getting into those, and then moving on to Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, all of that. And it was really cool being able to go back to Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby and just see it revisited almost like it was with Fire Red and Leaf Green. So just being able to play through it again, having the updated play styles, and I know some people look back on them and think they're boring. Some people weren't able to play through and finish them, but yeah, I still do feel very, very close to all of those games. So yeah, it's been nice to play through this one, and again, I really wish I was playing through it on a Nintendo Switch where it was something where I could come back and revisit. Obviously, this save file isn't going anywhere, so if I really felt like it, I can go back and play it. But it's just a shame that I can't really do anything else with it. So yeah, it's weird just going around and seeing all the different things that I could have been doing in terms of just all the different fun areas where there's like the pyramid that we go into is an interesting one where I didn't succeed in it, unfortunately, but it's almost like a whole bunch of just different mini games that you can go and do and use the Pokemon that you've either bred and tried to make really good ones of, or just the original team like I'm using now. And out of my original team, I think the Pokemon that I've had the most increased respect for is probably Magneton. I've never really used a Magnemite or Magneton before. My electric types, I wouldn't say that I've always gone for Pikachu, because I wouldn't really say that's accurate. Like, I did use one when I did my playthrough of Let's Go Pikachu, obviously. But when I played through Diamond, I think Luxray was my electric type, my go-to there. And then Boltund in Sword and Shield was certainly my go-to electric type there. So it's Magneton's never really been something that I've looked to in terms of having it involved in a serious team or anything like that. But it would be something where, given that the way that the national dex is gone in Sword and Shield, you know, obviously you might have your favorites, and I remember how disappointed I was when I found out that Shinx and Luxray weren't in Sword and Shield to begin with. They did get added in the DLC, which is great, but yeah, in terms of having a Pokemon that I would always want to be involved with, like if there was a Magnemite that I could get and be involved with, then that'd really be cool to have on the team in terms of like a throwback to this playthrough. And even like your other ones, like I don't think Aggron really played much of a part. Like it was one of the near originals that I grabbed very early on in the playthrough, but it was something that I didn't really utilize until the end. I think it got the final defeat in the battle against Steven, so that's pretty cool that it did that. But in terms of everything else, it didn't really play that much of a part. It was more of just a placeholder in the team. Unfortunately, there were other Pokemon that I had to sub in for it from time to time just to make it through the game. And then obviously your starter, you know, Swampet's always going to be cool, but I wouldn't really look to it just since it's a starter. Like I really don't like the idea of bringing in starters from different games into another playthrough of something. So it's always cool just to make use of the Pokemon that you have around you. Just a side note, that Ninjask that I had there, I was trying to come up with something that would help me catch a whole bunch of Pokemon in terms of getting something with False Swipe, and that was the only Pokemon I was able to get False Swipe on, because the way the breeding works and all that, it was always swap this one in from something else, swap this one in from a different game, and that just wasn't happening, unfortunately. And Gallade wasn't in Generation 3 because it was a later generation Pokemon. You can get one in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, so it does make catching things like the legendaries, as well as if you wanted to go through and complete the Pokedex, which was something that I was wanting to do in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire after completing the Pokedex in Sword and Shield. But yeah, that's why that Pokemon had the EXP share and all that. It was something that I was looking towards, and then I figured that I'd save a lot of the catching and stuff for our next playthrough of Pokemon Shield, because I do plan on that being a very long series for the channel. It is going to be as much as it is like a semi sort of challenge, like can I beat the game with only in-game trade Pokemon, once that's out of the way in terms of, I'll explain where I'm going to want to go with it in the actual video when the series starts, but that's going to be my actual save file for Pokemon Shield. So I might look to do a Let's Go Eevee playthrough as well at some point. Haven't really decided when I'd squeeze that one in. But yeah, so that's what I would like to do there. But yeah, in terms of like the team and all that, I've always had like Kadabra and Alakazam as being like my psychic Pokemon, so I don't really feel like I developed that much closer of a tie to it in that. But even like now, like Magneton's still like my front runner for this video here. So like I just feel like it's something that I'm just gonna always have to have around me, either in the party or just something that even if I tried to get, I think a shiny version, it's not that different. I think the red and the blue positive and negative points just change colors. But even if like I got like a shiny Magneton and really made like a really nice strong one, I think that'd be really cool just to hold on to and have by my side. But yeah, I think that's one of the big takeaways that I'm gonna have from this playthrough. So once again, like I will do a full summary video for Emerald, which will be like the final one. It might not be in the next week or two. It'll certainly be something that I just build over the next couple of weeks, where I just put some thoughts together in terms of looking back on what I did, where I went wrong, what I did well, and all of that. But yeah, so that's it for our playthrough of Pokemon Emerald. So thank you very much for watching. If you watched the whole series all the way through, thank you very much for following it. And I really look forward to jumping into Pokemon Shield and taking on what will be my effectively first challenge for a Pokemon game. So I don't know if it's going to be the hardest of challenges, but it'll certainly be something where I'm restricted to a certain team, and yeah, it'll be interesting to get into it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.